and welcome to this week's podcast. And today I want to talk. What is going on? What is that strange shadow? I don't know what that is. This is what happens when you record things live. I think the light's just funny. Oh, it's my bookshelf. That's what it is. I'm in a different room than I'm usually in. And I keep looking at the wrong side of the phone. The camera is on this side. Hello, welcome. Right, if you're new here, thank you very much for joining me. I will continue to look that way instead of this way. I do apologise. Yeah, thank you for joining me today on this clearly very disorganised podcast. I wanted to do an episode based on a post that I did on social media recently, which was about your behaviours not defining you, but giving an indication about the relationship that you have with yourself. So this was a thought that woke me up a couple of mornings ago. And sometimes when you have a dream and that dream has a message in it, and when you wake up, that message is still turning around in your head. Well, that was the message that was turning around. So I decided to do a social media post on it, and then thought I will do a podcast on this also because it's important. And sometimes we can really identify with certain behaviours rather than understand that behaviours are totally changeable and that they are an indication of where you are in this time in relationship to yourself. So I'm just going to read you the post that I did. I just realised that I started saying welcome to the new listeners and welcome back to those recurring listeners. This is probably the least organised I've been at the start of a podcast in some time. If you are enjoying this chaos, please do like, subscribe, follow, whatever you do on whichever platform you're watching this on. Back to my post. The post was, your behaviours don't define you. They're an indication of the relationship that you have with yourself. For too long, I kept myself busy all the time. I ate on the run, I had unhealthy relationships, over-exercised, partied hard, overspent and got myself into debt, stayed up late even though I had an early start in the morning. I was disconnected. I didn't respect myself. I was burying my emotions and keeping busy so that I didn't need to feel or face up to my challenges. People looking in thought I was strong and successful, but I was making myself sick. I had hit burnout more than once and I didn't learn my lessons. And it wasn't until I was diagnosed with an autoimmune condition, Crohn's disease, that I started to review and assess my life. I started to change my behaviour, which changed my relationship to myself. The healing journey isn't a straight line. There isn't a magic pill, a fancy technique. It's all small, consistent steps. And I think it's really important that, particularly if your energy is all over the place, if you are struggling, if you are experiencing lots of symptoms, maybe you're going through perimenopause, maybe you're like the lead up to your period, you've got really big premenstrual tension. Maybe you're living with chronic illness and just can't seem to get out of that slump of feeling unwell. I would encourage you to take a step back and have a look at the things that you're doing. This morning, for example, I was sitting on my phone scrolling. I had 45 minutes before my class was due to start. And I'm sitting scrolling, bored scrolling because I'm like, oh, this is dull. Don't actually want to be on social media scrolling. Oh, I've still got 45 minutes before my class. And then I suddenly thought, oh, I want to do my compression trousers. I can lie down for 20 minutes to half an hour with those trousers on, get my legs getting a bit of a massage. I'll feel better. I'll have lay on the floor for that time and I'm not scrolling on my phone while I'm doing that. So that's what I did. Pulled my compression trousers out, lay down, got the pain relief, which was lovely, got the relaxation, which was lovely, and then was ready to teach my class. So I had that moment, that time where I could have just sat and continued scrolling and just, even though I knew that I wasn't happy and that I wasn't feeling fulfilled doing this scrolling, could have stayed there. But I managed to catch myself and get up and go and do that. Now, that's that was just today. That's not every day. Sometimes before I go to bed, I think I'll just quickly check social media before I go to bed, and an hour later, I'm still sitting there scrolling, and then I get annoyed with myself, and I think, "Well, why did I not go and get myself ready for bed? What was it that left me feeling disconnected from my needs, that kept me in this place of numbing, this place of distraction?" And it's having these conversations with yourself to say, what's going on? What is the feeling that I'm trying to avoid feeling? And sometimes just thinking about that, just trying to get that insight helps you break the cycle. You go, oh, right, there's stuff going on in my mind that I don't want to think about. Okay, how do I give myself some self compassion about that? How do I give myself some space and time? Is there a way that I can just be with those feelings? But acknowledging that you're scrolling because you're feeling stressed, you're feeling anxious, there's something else going on, that's the first step. That's the awareness and being able to take the cover off, to take the pain away. Just acknowledging that you're doing that. Because if you're not, then you're just in that mindlessness rather than mindfulness. So if you're scrolling and thinking, I'm doing this because I know it's making me feel less bad about this other thing, then that's changed the narrative in what you're doing rather than that mindless dumbing or even numbing scrolling. Because it can be easy just to don't want to think about this, go, go, go. And that's just talking about the phone, right? Haven't even considered the food that you're eating, the beverages that you're drinking, the other behaviours. Maybe it's shopping, maybe it's getting yourself into debt, maybe it's taking drugs, maybe you're having sex with people that you know you really shouldn't be having sex with because afterwards you don't feel good about the situation. Maybe the way you speak to people, you're like, why am I speaking to this person like this? I'm projecting onto them something that I feel about myself. What is that? What is that thing? What is going on here for me? What is that distraction that I'm trying to run away or hide from? And just being able to acknowledge it and label it can be so powerful. Doesn't mean you have to go and then deal with it in that moment, but just knowing that you are doing this thing to create this change because of this particular situation, that can be a game changer. That can be a point where you start to be able to turn around so that you can make better choices about the behaviours that you're doing. So when you're deciding what you have for dinner, you might be tired. You might be, oh, I'm only getting home from work at 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, and then I've got to make something to eat. And I'm tired, so I'm just going to fire something in the microwave and I'm just going to eat a packet of crisps because you're already tired. But then when you eat that crap food, then you feel more tired and you feel more crap. And then that creates this cycle. And sometimes you just have crisps for your dinner because that's exactly what you want. And that's okay. Don't want to beat yourself up about that. But it's that coming back to let's get curious. Not about judgment. I want to be clear on that. It's not about judgment. It is about being curious. Huh, interesting. Why did I make that choice today? Huh, interesting. Why did I take that action today? Why was my behaviour manifesting in this way that it's manifesting? What is going on underneath the hood? And then we can start to make those changes. And it might be that you have to spend half a day just preparing food. Maybe you freeze it so that it's ready, or maybe you just get all the stuff in and get things that are simple to throw together to have a quick and easy, healthier option meal rather than going for the junk foods. But if you don't know that you're doing it and you don't know why you're doing it, then it's difficult to break that cycle. And then when you can start to give yourself that love, give yourself that compassion, nourish yourself, not just with the foods that you're eating, with the beverages that you're drinking, with the actions that you're taking, that when you're doing the things that are helping you feel better, helping you heal, helping you feel good about yourself, then that's where you start to see the health improvements. And that's the big thing about lifestyle medicine. So I've spoken about this many times on the podcast before, but just in case you haven't heard those previous episodes or it was a while ago and you can't really remember, I came to lifestyle medicine through coincidence because I was lying on my couch with this diagnosis of Crohn's disease, being told that you're going to be on these highly toxic medications for the rest of your life. And these medications come with horrific side effects that may cause another disease that may kill you. And I really did not want that for myself. I wanted to do what I could, give myself power. Because when you get this diagnosis, you feel so disempowered. Like you have to hand all these decisions over to the medical community, or you certainly feels like you have to hand all these decisions over. So I started investigating what could I do for myself. Where did the inflammation come from? Why am I chronically inflamed? What drives inflammation in the body? Sleep. That was one of the big things for me. I read a few books on sleep. I read Matthew Walker's Why We Sleep. I read Arianna Huffington's Sleep Revolution. Those two were massive for my initial, right, I really need to get my sleep under control here. So I got eye masks, blackout blinds, cooled the room, got nice jammies, got nice sheets, had a bedtime routine, and I wear earplugs as well. All these things that worked for me to help me calm down and get to sleep. And most nights I do get 7 to 8 hours or a bit more of really good, really deep sleep. Sometimes I need to take a wee herbal aid. So at certain times of the month, I have noticed there's a cycle that about 7 days out from my period, I'll wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning. So in that week leading up to that, I will take some valerian as a sleep aid, and that helps me sleep right through that. And that helps, and that can be really useful to have these kind of things. You don't want to rely on them. You want to be able to rely on the routine, the other things that help you wind down and help you sleep. Some people love white noise in the room. Um, some people have a bath before they go to bed. So lots of different things, but just finding the things that work for you. So sleep was massive, and that's one of the 6 pillars of lifestyle medicine. Physical activity. Now I thought I was on point for my physical activity because I was exercising every single day. But what I realised was that my physical activity was too much because I wasn't getting sufficient and appropriate recovery from that exercise that I was doing. There was some days that I was teaching 4, 5, 6 classes in a day, a lot of them high intensity classes. Wasn't getting the sleep to help me recover. Massively important if you're doing a lot of exercise. Healthy eating is another thing. And although my diet was quote unquote healthy, I was eating on the run, I was eating by myself. Everything I was eating was cold food because I was out and about all the time. Excuse me. So that had an impact. Healthy relationships, didn't have the healthiest relationships. There were people that were in my life that were just using me. Um, there was people who became codependent, and for both of us, that wasn't a healthy relationship. People that were distant, people that just didn't fill the needs of what what was needed. The reducing harmful substances, so all those behaviours, the food, the drink, the drugs, alcohol, the doom scrolling, the Netflix, the social media, the toxic people in your life, all of these things come into that harmful substances. It's not just the smoking, drinking, drugs that we maybe come straight to mind. All these other things, reducing these harmful substances in my life, even skincare. What are you putting onto your skin? Because anything that goes on goes in. If you can't eat it, it shouldn't be going on your skin. That's a general rule that I stick to. Shared many times that olive oil is my go-to moisturizer for my skin. Um, Mental well-being. I think this is number 6. So we've done sleep, physical activity, healthy eating, healthy relationships, mental well-being, harmful substances. Um, yeah, mental well-being. I was using exercise as my crutch. I was eating on the run as a crutch. I was using partying as a crutch. I was using doom scrolling as a crutch. I wasn't acknowledging the grief that I was feeling from failed marriages, health challenges being presented, businesses closing down, deaths in the family, all these things. I wasn't given space for those emotions to be felt. I was just burying them down with all that busyness. So the 6 pillars, it's really important that you nourish them. And I would say start with one, and then that will have a snowball effect and a knock-on effect, because as you start to really focus on one, other things will fall into place more naturally. And if you live in the Glasgow area, depending on when you're listening to this, myself and Emma Toms, who's been on the podcast several times now, are doing a workshop on Sunday, the 8th of June 2025, from 2 till 5 in the afternoon, Glasgow City Centre, for 6 pillars of lifestyle medicine. So we're talking about how do we slow down, how do we get into this place of parasympathetic nervous system where we can really rest, digest, connect, heal, and then how do we use the 6 pillars to help us on our healing journey. There are still a few spaces left on the workshop at the time of recording this. So if you are keen to join, if this sounds like something that you need in your life, then please do get signed up, join us. I'll put the link in the show notes underneath this video. And if you can't make that, but you're interested in knowing more, learning more, working with me directly on that, then do reach out to me. The links are all in the show notes of how to get in touch. Because it's something that is really important, and it's something that is not going to cost you money. If anything, it's going to save you money, because if you follow my skincare regime, you're just buying a bottle of olive oil and some salt. So, that's going to save you hundreds, if not thousands, depending on what kind of skincare regime you've got. When you start nourishing your body with good foods, then you're buying less junk foods, and you probably end up buying more junk foods than you would otherwise. When you start getting a good night's sleep, you don't need all that caffeine to drive you through the day. It's a money saving exercise as well as a health saving exercise. So I would really encourage you to get on board with that. So I'm going to leave you now. If you know somebody who would benefit from coming along to our workshop, please do share this video with them. If you haven't subscribed or followed yet, I would encourage you to do that so that you don't miss any more episodes coming out. And if you want to follow me on social media, I am Jen Wilson. On Instagram, it is I am dot Jen Wilson. Somebody else already has the I am Jen Wilson handle, which is fine. So yeah, it's been lovely chatting to you, my wandering thoughts, and I am going to go and I will see you on the next episode. So I hope you have a wonderful day, evening, depending on what time you're listening to this. Sleep well, be joyful, be aware of your behaviours, and I will see you on the next episode.